So desu ka? What's up, Zenny? How you doing? Game's fun, really good. It has some big time storytelling issues, though. I don't know if the problem is that I don't know if that's just the bad localization or not. Like, there's definitely been some bad fan translation stuff, but like at the same time, there's just a complete lack of story being told, and I think that's not really a matter of fan translation, because like this is kind of a bad fan translation overall, but really what it does is it kind of takes a lot of liberties and also more often than not just kind of literally translates instead of you know, cultural like localization kind of thing. So if it was more literal, then we'd see more of the actual plot if there was plot, but like we're just throwing out terminologies that we've never even heard of or learned of. Like all of a sudden, hey, Demon Army, and I'm just like, wait, what? Demon Army? Demon Army from what? You know, like, huh? Kind of thing. So just trying to figure that all out. Yes, the demon army of demons that are demonically demonizing demons, directly demoning, yeah. Well, the Switch, okay, so this is the SNES version, right? This is the original release of the game. The Switch version is not just a remake of the game, it's a remaster of a remake. So the Switch version is completely different because it's a remake of a remaster of a remake. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, yes, it's gonna be very different. What is that light? Kaboom. Kaboom. It's Lavos. What the hell? I wonder if it was a meteor. Could that have been the starship? Seriously? 300 years ago? Nobody even knew about it? No, dude. The passage of time is so bad in this, man. It feels more like 3 years, not 300. Even 3 years is pushing it, like saying that we wouldn't have known about that. Starship? It worries me. I think we should check it out immediately. Dude, that's all the way back at home. What? Rabble. After coming this far? Let's go. I think maybe what we call the starship in our world just crashed. Just crashed? Yeah, there's still wreckage of a weird-looking ship on our world, but dude, that's what that was. Let's see. Well, let's make our way to Trop for now. We can try to make an arrangements at the port there to get to Port Miss. You serious? I don't know. 300 years seems so off for an estimate of all this stuff, you know? Like, we're supposed to have gone 300 years back in time to, like, a point where this planet wasn't harvested for all its sweet, like, DNA or whatever. But, like, the things that have changed are things that are not 300 years of change. It's more like a couple months, you know? I don't know. Like, nothing really lines up very well from the time frames. Yeah, exactly. 300 years is an insanely long time, right? That's exactly it. So, like parts of the world are relatively decently 300 years different. But like the things and actions that would have taken place in those 300 years, no. Like that ship crashing and we never really knew about it or investigated it or it never changed our... Like if advanced alien technology crash landed on our planet 300 years ago, do you think our world would be even remotely the same? No, the answer is absolutely not. It would be completely different. Our entire lives would be based around this alien technology. We would learn so much from it over the course of 300 years. But supposedly that plane or the starship landed next to the main character's town 300 years ago, and we just like ignored it. I'm so sure, you know, I'm so sure that it's perfectly the same and intact and not overgrown or anything. Who says it hasn't? I mean, okay, fair enough. Like, that is one of those conspiracy theory kind of things. And it is possible, sure. Likely, probably not. But, the point is you could argue then, if that were the case, that we do have advanced alien tech, then it's the reverse. What if we never got it, you know? So we could solve the same argument, but the point is, you know, yeah, things would be much different for these people if that ship actually crash landed 300 years ago and not like 3 days ago. Not to mention, I'm so sure an advanced alien tech is gonna take 300 years to like have a disease spread and then harvest people after they turn to stone. It just 300 years? Come on. 3 would be believable. Ikazea! Yeah, but the point is, in L7 is that technology advances exponentially. Meaning that the farther in technology we get, the bigger each step is. You know, when you multiply things exponentially, those numbers get real big real fast. Our technology actually advances exponentially. We have people in training for jobs that'll be obsolete by the time they're out of school, you know? So you get a step up like that. True, 300 years later? Yeah. 300 years is a hell of a long time to disassemble the ship, study the pieces, build your own build your own civilization off of that, and master it, and spread it across the world. More than enough time. 3 years would be like, we had this thing, we're studying it, we still don't really know anything about it, we just kind of ignored it, maybe. Or, you know, only the castle town has it or whatever, the knights or something. 30 years would be like, we've learned and understood a whole bunch of it, and we've built weapons and some tools with it. But instead, the world's exactly the same 300 years later, you know? Or rather, not necessarily exactly the same, just that the towns have grown at a normal rate, you know? But the biggest flaw in the 300 years is that supposedly this advanced technology, like, you know, right now the Earthlings that are super duper advanced and have spaceships, there's another race that also has the same tech, and they're supposedly applying a disease that turned everybody to stone at the beginning of the game, and then harvesting stone statues for some kind of special thing, and that was 300 years in the making. 300 years? You really think they're gonna, like, that's not 300 years, maybe 3 or 30 at most, you know? So the reason I say 3, 30, and 300 is because it feels like a typo error kind of thing, you know? So 30 seems like it might be the actual reality of it. There's probably a reason why they never advanced. Yeah, the writer didn't understand the concept of what technology does over time to a civilization. That's probably why they never advanced. Hey, Felly, what's up, dude? The local civilization doesn't have a natural resource needed to actually power the spaceship technology. They do, however, have their own basic power sources. Destination instead becomes a town plaza heater or something. Or, you know, they learn about refining metal because the ship is going to be made out of a metal alloy of some kind. And so maybe they don't have the mineral itself on their planet, but they at least learn about it, you know? Hey, Mercosta, what's up, dude? They learn about wiring and advanced machinery, that it exists. Maybe they don't have the tech to understand it or implement it, but they at least can start looking at it. And, you know, like 300 years is a long time. Really, really long time. Like, really long time. 300 years ago was 1720. Think about the technology we had 1720. Hell, even the technology between like 1400 and 1700. You know, think about that. Even that. Gigantic difference. I'd say the difference between 1100 and 1400, but that's the middle of the Dark Ages, where literally zero technological advancements were made because it was considered, bad. I did answer the question, Felly. So, well, no, it's not. I'm refraining from saying it because it starts to getting into a religious debacle. That's why I'm not talking about it. But anyway, the point is yeah, there was like every 300-year gap, there's a lot of technology being improved on, and that's just like normal technological advancement. But yeah, so the thing is, the reason I want to play this version of the game is because I have heard that this version of the game is very significant for its time, and there's a lot of very, very amazing like technological marvels that this game produced. And so normally I would probably just do First Departure or whatever, but because I've heard so much about this game specifically, this version of the game specifically, I very much wanted to play this version of it and not any other version. Well, to that I would say, let's say aliens did come down and tell us how to build ancient pyramids, but they came down and they guided us. They didn't come down and hand us the blueprints and the technology, you know? Like, they just said, do this one thing, and then that's it, you know? Whereas if, like, alien tech crash landed on the planet, they're not picking and choosing what information they're feeding us. We have their entire wealth of information at our disposal, as long as we can access it. The concept of aliens doing that, I'm just saying for sake of argument. It was a joke. I'm playing along with it. Obviously, the concept is far-fetched, but that doesn't. It still has a valid, like, you know, not really concern, but you know, has a valid sort of like place in this discussion, I would say. You know, assuming if kind of thing. So even if kind of thing, even if this case happened, you know, it still doesn't answer. Serious business only. It wasn't grenade. What is this?
It's newer than the one I know, but there's no doubt about it. It's the Starship. Starship? What's wrong, Aria? No, it's nothing. This is that mystery group's alien ship, isn't it? Perhaps they've already blended in as Roekans and are at work. Let's hurry. Right.
Okay. Nothing going on. So the private action can't be played. No, I think the idea is they think that we purposely, or they purposely crashed so that they could integrate into the society and spread the disease around. Because the whole point of this game is this entire planet was given a disease that turns everybody into stone, which is not very well told, by the way, because the only time you hear about it is the village north of town is turned to stone, and then we learn later on that literally the entire planet except for my village had already been harvested. And it's just like, what? How would I not hear about that? Even in olden times, people like come with travel, you know, like, oh my god, this thing is happening, and you know, you'd be the last bastion of humanity kind of thing, but whatever. So we went 300 years in the past, you know, just cuz, and we're trying to stop it, I guess. It's not a super great story, even by SNES standards so far. Mostly because it's not very well told, and it's not just about because it's an old game and those games are, you know, not very well told stories. It's that like it's using really drastic numbers that just don't belong, like 300 years, and then it's also kind of name dropping stuff randomly out of nowhere, like suddenly Demon King Army. It's like we're talking about it as if we were familiar with the Demon King Army, even though we'd never even heard about it. Like all of a sudden that's a thing, just out of nowhere. Well, what am I supposed to do? Like, you know, Chrono Trigger doesn't have the greatest story either. It's pretty basic, pretty bland, it's neat and fun, but at least it's cohesive, right? You know, things match from one point to the next, and it's all one big story that's combined, that makes sense, you know? This just kind of seems... blah. Just slapped on randomly. You also kind of know what's going on at CT. No. That's not the point. It has nothing to do with what we know is going on. It's about how the information is presented to the player. It's just kind of thrown at you randomly, like it's so out of place, and then it treats it as if you should be familiar with it. Like, duh, don't you know about this phrase that we've literally never said, kind of thing? You know. Also, I'd also say that just because, like, we don't know something, like maybe there's a reason why the 300 years thing makes sense and it's logical in this game, but if it holds on to this sort of like doubt to the player the whole game, and then all of a sudden at the end it's like, haha, it was logical,
That's not a good way to tell a story either. You need to give the viewer or the reader something to latch onto that makes sense the entire time, and then throw them for a loop and be like, haha, this was the actual thing, and then it like blows your mind open. You're like, whoa. But if you're just sitting here like spamming a freaking that doubt meme from what's that game where you do the investigation, the Rockstar game, you know, you're just like doing that the whole time, like doubt meme. I mean, you're not gonna really be into the story, and then when they blow open the truth, air quote, you're just gonna be like, oh wow, you did it, the convenience. FF6, Chrono Trigger, freaking, I don't know, every Breath of Fire game, every SNES RPG that I can think of, Lufia 1, 2, they all kind of just like, they have a decent or good story, and it's cohesive and it makes sense, and they don't throw out random nonsense at you just to kind of patch the holes of their story, you know? It also could be an issue with the localization since it's a fan translation, but I don't think that's the case because it feels more literal, and that means that like they would bring over the dialogue that was meaningful, you know. Plus fan translators tend to be they tend to be overly attached to the game in question. That's why they're more than happy to work on translation for said game. So they're likely to not make anything missed, and maybe even change dialogue to make it more clear for the player, as opposed to like a more dated localization that would match the dialogue actually spoken. So they're more likely to err in favor of making a more comprehensive story. No, I wanna experience this story first, and then we can determine whether or not it's the same in FDR or not. I feel like we might play it somewhat soon. Yes, true. That's why I don't like fan translations, Neo. Not to mention, when you pay somebody to do a translation, they care more about doing a good job versus doing a job that they want, like you say. Fan translations take way too many liberties because it's a passion thing for them, and they often are blinded by that and don't really know what a professional localization is, and they think translation is fine, but that's not the case, obviously. So there's a lot of flaws to fan translations versus professional translations or localization. Again, just one of the reasons why I typically don't play fan-translated games, you know? But I wanted to play this one regardless, just because of what this game was supposed to be. And so far, it's delivering 100% on that. It's delivering 100% on what this game was suggested to be, which is a very impressive visually and orally, to be honest, SNES game. True. No, absolutely. I mean, fan translations are great because it allows players to play a game that they normally would not have access to. No, I'm appreciative of that. Absolutely. But it doesn't make it good just because they did. You know, I mean, it's like, okay, I can experience this and understand it and play the game, but I'm not really going to get
a true to form story necessarily. So the story does end up being the thing that suffers, I think, more often than not. Well, I guess let's go to the North Town. The game had a lot of Tales of Fantasia developers working on, which is why Star Ocean is very similar to Tales games. Yep. Yeah. Tales of Fantasia team made Tales of Fantasia, and then a huge chunk of them broke off and made Tri-Ace, and then made this game. The thing we talked about the other day, BGG, the person